Now that's what I call real empowerment. That's what I call reaching my potential, my maximum potential. And today, this amazing day, where you are going to learn to enhance your amazing self, body, mind, and spirit, you too can actually do this headstand. Really, it's not that difficult. It's finding your abs that's difficult. But as the yogis say, you're only as old as the health of your spine. That's why I stand on my head. So I can do this headstand because I can, and because I'm a yoga teacher, as well as a public speaker. And standing on my head is my passion, as well as my business. And my business is teaching yoga students to connect their bodies and their minds with the spirit, or what we call breath, or prana. Translated, life force. To maximize their awareness, their individual awareness and positive sense of self. The end result is that we develop individuals who are fully empowered to bring joy and peace into their lives. Today is that day for you. Today is a day that's going to bring your awareness to a very, very high level. This is a day that's going to offer you a total and complete understanding of how to connect the body, the mind, and the spirit. It is a day that's going to allow you to reach deep into yourself and access all of the wonderful things that you are. You're going to be amazed at what you're going to be experiencing. We're going to go intricately into the nooks and crannies of your body, mind, and spirit and discover new and different ways of maximizing your potential. That's what this day is about. And we're going to have some really unbelievable experts to help us through this day. The experts are going to talk about mindfulness. Well, you have your program, but just to review, they're going to talk about mindfulness. They're going to talk about brain health. They're going to talk about that all-important ingredient of resilience, which I'm going to do a little bit of talking about. Nutrition. They're going to make us aware of the benefits of acupressure and healing arts. And we're going to be guided along on this journey in a spiritual way to connect the outside life that we live with our inside life. And that's about our passions and our dreams. We're going to make sense of the numbers, those numbers that relate to our body indexes. And we're also going to be guided and assisted in that all-important area, that all-important responsibility of caregiving. And finally, we're going to learn how we go from career to volunteer in our communities. So buckle up your seatbelts, sit back and relax, and enjoy the day. And the day is going to begin with a giant goodie basket. And in this basket is going to be everything you are as an individual. We're a gold mine of thoughts and dreams, passions, ideas, virtues. Everything that's ever happened to us, our struggles, losses, successes, joys, fulfillments, everything that we have ever done, everything that we have ever been in our lives will go into this day. And this day will resonate with you, hopefully, for many years to come. So as long as we're going on this journey, I want to share with you 5 simple but effective tools to help you get the life that you want and that you deserve, a life full of integrated wellness. Now, maybe you know these tools. You're familiar with them in some sense, but maybe you haven't thought about these tools as a way to integrate your wellness. Now, these tools are going to start you thinking proactively about being healthy, about integrating what we're going to learn today. These tools are going to reduce resistance. because that's part of human nature, to resist. It's going to open us up to new and exciting ideas. And it's going to inspire and motivate you to make a commitment for a healthy lifestyle. But before we get to these tools, we have to talk about the two elephants in the room. The first is age. We live in a culture that we prize being young forever. But Betty Davis said it best. Betty Davis said, aging is not for sissies. So, if it's not for sissies, let's get going and discover new and different ways to be the best that we can be in our lives. To age takes courage. It takes commitment. And above all, I think it takes grace. The grace of knowing yourself. So, if age is more an attitude than a chronological number, the question becomes, how do we get that attitude? How do we know what to do with it? How do we know what positive things can come from this attitude? Well, an attitude is a behavior. It's a judgment about how we behave. So if we feel young and energetic, we are. If we feel like a rock star, we are. But if we feel old, we are. How many of you are moping around thinking self-defeating thoughts about what you're going to do for the rest of your life? We live a long life. How many of you are jazzed about the idea that you can choose your own destiny no matter your age? I know I am. Raise your hands if you think so. Because that mantra and a straight spine will get me a long life. So, when we talk about age, we want to talk about it being a magical gift. Yeah, it's magic. You know why? Because we're alive. We're here. We're now. We're breathing. Age is a tangible asset. Because age brings us wisdom. It brings us experience. And it brings us historical perspective. Pretty cool. So let's all celebrate our age with a healthy and positive attitude so we can take on the challenges of growing older. Now, one of those challenges is, how do we integrate a happy and a healthy life and balance the needs of our family and our personal as well as professional needs? That's a challenge. How many of you in here are living the life that you want and deserve in this very minute? How many of you? You love it? Great. Well, those of you who aren't, I count myself. I'm still in process. Well, why aren't we? Let's ask that question. Why aren't we getting the life we deserve and want right now? Is it a job? Is it health? A relationship? Money? Well, you know what I think? I think it comes from something deeper. And it's the second elephant in the room. It's called resistance. Resistance is a psychological defense mechanism that causes us to deny or to not accept something in our life. We're going to reject it. Right there. There's an author whom I like a lot. His name is Stephen Pressfield. He wrote a book called The War of Art. And in this book he said, resistance is the most toxic force on the planet. It is the root of more unhappiness than poverty, disease, or erectile dysfunction. It causes us to lose our spirit and be less than we were born to be. And that's really boring. Because it causes us to make excuses not to do the things that we want to do, need to do, love to do, have to do. I'm too busy, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too young. I don't know anybody in the book club. My husband won't let me go without him. My wife will get mad if I go. Yoga? What's that? I don't get it. Meditation? Oh, I can't stop myself from thinking. Exercise? Look, I've been the same weight for the last 15 years. I still fit in my clothes. And the list goes on and on. I don't drive 30 miles outside of Los Angeles. Too much trouble. Oh, I know this isn't you. Maybe it's someone you know. Maybe a friend. Well, did you know that when we resist, we are not fully present? We have just cut off an entire situation before we experience anything. I call it mental selectivity. Why? We're afraid. The unknown, change, my comfort zone, I can't leave it. Pressfield says, resistance is faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and harder to kick than crack cocaine. There was a 17th century English preacher who wrote, truth is given not to be contemplated, but to be done. Life is an action, not a thought. The way to beat resistance is to get up every morning, every day, one day at a time, and choose to do the most important work. Have that intention in your head. What is the most important work? Something that brings you joy and satisfaction. Something that lights your fire. Something that gives you positive attitude. Because, mark my words, resistance is going to be sitting right there next to you. So beware, be alert, be vigilant, and choose to do what brings you joy and gives you passion. You're the only one that can beat resistance. And you do it every day when you wake up by not letting the to-do lists, the honey-do lists, the myriad of errands you have to run, these are distractions. We do it all the time unconsciously. So there you have our second elephant in the room. Now, you look like a really cool audience that I can do this with. Sometimes I don't do it with audiences, but I think this is going to be good. One of the really cool ways to beat resistance is by chanting. You're going to get a little spiritual today, so I'm going to give you a little taste of what you're going to get. Okay. We're going to chant Om. Now don't be afraid, it's just like a sing-along at camp. Remember row, row, row your boat? We did it in 3-part harmony. Right? The camp master said you, and you. Well, I'm going to go 2-part, and I'm going to say down the middle, down the middle. We're going to chant Om. Now, the vibrations in your throat and your mouth are going to feel soothing. You are not going to think at all. Absence of thought. The chanting, same thing with meditation, but chanting is kind of easier in a way. So I'm going to demonstrate it for you. And then we're going to do it 2-part harmony. Continuous Om. Keep going. Here it goes. You have to take a very deep breath. Ready? I'm going to have this side do it first. I'm going to be like the conductor, and I'll tell you guys when to come in. All right? Just close your eyes. Take down the affective filter in the room. And draw the attention into yourself. Here we go. Very, very, very deep breath. Oh. feel? A little elevated? I'm high. Well, what's going on here is that there's a transformation in the circuits of the brain. It increases functionality, focus, empathy, and happiness. UCLA Brain Mapping Center. I'm sure some of you know about this. There are ongoing studies mapping the effect of meditation on the brain. And they have discovered that it affects the central nervous system. It makes us less resistant, less reactive, and a lot more peaceful. So now that you're feeling positive and happy about your life, let's get to the first tool. The first tool is going to provide abundance in your life, and it's going to take away the mental gridlock of scarcity, the I don't have enough. And it's have an attitude of gratitude. You all know this. And it starts with a story. One early Friday morning, I was taking a cab to LAX, to Las Vegas to see my family, my 5 grandchildren, my 2 adult sons. Before that, my mother was there, my brother, and I was a weekend warrior once a month. And I'm sitting in the back of the cab, and I noticed that the cab driver was a Rastafarian from Jamaica. So I'm settled back in there, and it's trying to kind of mellow out or wake up or whatever I was trying to do. And then I kept looking in the mirror, and there was this dude looking at me. And I went back, and I just relaxed, and he was looking at me in that rear view mirror again. And he said to me, "You know what's wrong with you, Mom? You don't have enough gratitude." Now it's 5:30 in the morning. And gratitude is not on my mind. But I answered him in my early morning raspy voice, and I said, "Dude, I'm a yoga teacher. I give gratitude in every class I teach every day of my life. And I'm happy as hell." But you know what? That Rasta was right. Every day, we all can wake up with an attitude of gratitude. We are on this earth, and our life is a gift. I think we forget that sometimes. Our breath is a gift. Shouldn't we say thank you at least once a day for our life, our breath? You know, every religion talks about having gratitude. But I think we forget sometimes what that really means. And it's really simple. Meister Eckhart, a 13th century mystic, wrote, "If the only prayer you said throughout your whole life was thank you, that would suffice." Everyone in this room could wake up with an attitude of gratitude. Be grateful that your back doesn't ache when you get up. You can actually walk standing up straight. Be grateful that you don't have to drive the 405 to your office in downtown. Be grateful for that beautiful family you have. Be grateful to that person who is bagging your groceries. Did you know that having an attitude of gratitude affects our happiness quotient? I think you know that, those of you who practice gratitude. It makes us healthier also. That is good brain health. We're talking about brain health today? Gratitude gives you great brain health. They've done those experiments with meditation and with gratitude, and they have noted that the gray matter / some white matter in our brains actually stays where it's supposed to stay for our lives instead of shrinking and getting us into another area, crossing the line. There is a quote by a man called Gerald Good who said, "If you want to change your life around, try thankfulness. It will change your life mightily." The one gift in my life that I am forever grateful for is my ability to teach. My mother used to say to me, "Joni, you're a born teacher, so teach." And I've been teaching since the age of 22. and I'm 68. Still going on. It is the gift that keeps on giving for me because it leads me to other learning and knowing experiences and different skill sets. And that is amazing for me. What gift keeps on giving for you? What in your life will change your life for the better? What is it that you do that will change your life for the better? I remember when I was teaching acting at UNLV in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I was in the theater department. And I was hitting the glass ceiling in those days. They don't talk about glass ceilings today for women. Oh, we have it. We just don't, we just gave that one up. Because we work harder and better and smarter. So I went to the president of the university and I said, I don't think there's a level playing field here. Because I was the only female among all the males. And he said to me, Joan, I can't help what they do in that department. That's their business. If you want to do something more in theater, get off campus. And I did. I left the university, I went down the street, and I opened up Nevada's first year-round professional theater. And those guys work for me. At first I wasn't grateful. At first I was a little hostile, or a lot hostile. But when gratitude finally kicked in, I realized that that president gave me a gift. And that gift was, I turned the negative into the positive. So lesson learned, if we dismiss everything that comes our way that is negative, then we will lose the opportunity to discover that rare gem of a gift that will change our lives forever. It changed my life forever. Irrevocably. That gift. My boyfriend says to me, oh yes, I have a boyfriend. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I just like using that line. It just sounds cool, that's all. Actually, he's my best friend. He says to me, whatever comes our way, either positive or negative, you can find an opportunity. But first, you must be grateful. Opportunities lurk around every corner. And he says, but it's the negative which interests me the most. Because it makes me work harder to succeed. That's resilience. That's another gift. That gift of resilience. That ability to recover from or to exceed a misfortune or a big change. And in that moment that we can exceed ourselves, we can learn about ourselves. Otherwise, if everything went smoothly, if it was all positive, we would never have the opposing force of energy, which is the negative. That's what's called the yin and the yang. You might learn some of that today. But we have these opposing forces of energy in our lives. And eventually, they balance. And that's what makes us balanced individuals, happy, positive individuals. The second tool is, to get us to maximize our potential, is to be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. I heard a TED Talk. You guys know what TED Talks are? They're amazing. Dr. Brené Brown, she's a sociologist and a speaker. She's amazing. She gave a TED Talk about vulnerability. And she said to be vulnerable means to be really strong. Wow, to be really strong, I thought strength was in muscles. But no. To be strong is to be vulnerable. And she related a story to the audience about how once she opened herself up to her very extensive emotional palette, which we all have, that she was able to fulfill her life to a greater degree and to be a lot happier. So how does vulnerability get us to an integrated, healthy, and happy wellness lifestyle? To be vulnerable means to open ourselves up emotionally. Now sometimes that's scary. About all the time that's scary. because we're subject to ridicule or criticism, or worse, indifference. And when we're in that position, we are going to be defensive. The first is defensiveness, the first thing we feel. But paradoxically, and this is the paradox of vulnerability, paradoxically, it is at that very moment when we are vulnerable, we are most creative. Our creativity kicks in at that moment. And it is then that we start to integrate our body, mind, and spirit in that moment of vulnerability. We become a whole, total, holistic individual in the moment of vulnerability. I'm standing before you today asking you to take a leap of faith. I'm asking you to embrace vulnerability, to be willing to make glorious mistakes, and you will have a life that you deserve and that you want. Michael Jordan has a lovely little story. Talks about vulnerability. You all know who Michael Jordan is, don't you? With that basketball team somewhere that's not doing well. But his story is lovely. He says, I have missed over 9,000 shots. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I was asked to take the winning goal and missed. I have failed over and over again. And that is why I succeed. Third tool, learn to adapt. Adapting. I was very, very, very young girl when I learned to adapt. It was easy for me because I had a mother who loved to make changes. In fact, we moved every 2 years. She and my dad would find a fixer, fix it up, sell it, move on, every 2 years. And every time we moved, I cried. It didn't do any good. I had to learn to adapt. And I had an attitude adjustment every time I did. How good are you at adapting? How good are you at making changes when you need to? Do you let other people make changes for you, or do you do that for yourself? People don't make changes because they're afraid. They don't want to leave their creature comfort zone. It's very, very difficult. But making changes as an attitude set, and that is going to really help you in your life. When you make changes with a good attitude, look for the good in a change. How about that? Not the bad. What do we go to? We go to the bad first, right? Look for the good. Look for the positive. Look for how it's going to affect your life in a positive way. Look at the whole scene. I do this thing by, I step back from a situation, 10%, I call it the 10% solution. I step back and look at that scene. There's a Sufi poet in the 14th century who wrote a good piece of advice for us. Step back and take a look at your path. And lo, you will see the journey. We're on top of the change. We're 100% emotionally involved. We can't do anything. We're stuck. So take yourself back and look at the change. The fourth tool that we want to look at is a quote by Margaret Mead that's an inspiration for this tool for me. And Margaret Mead wrote, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and then go and do that. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. What makes you come alive? What is your passion? What is your bliss? Because I'll tell you this, the key to designing a fully integrated, well life is passion. That's our fourth tool. Finding your passion, developing your passion. Passion smashing, you say. How do I get passion? And would I know it if it even hit me in the face? Maybe yes, maybe no. But if you feel an outpouring of positive energy, if there's something in your head that keeps going over and over and over in your mind, and you can't stop that, if you feel an overwhelming passion for a person, place, or thing, doesn't matter. You've got that. That's when a simple interest is elevated to a rarefied passion. And that's what happened to me with yoga. A simple interest developed into a passion. And another passion hit me in the late 80s when I was in my early 50s. I saw my first Argentine tango show. And I knew what I had to do. My son went off to college, my second one. Yay! I went off to find a dance studio. And before that first year was over of study, I took myself to Argentina. And I danced with hundreds of fat, bald men who taught me how to listen to the music. They said, if you don't know the music, you can't feel the dance in every pore of your body. What is your music? What is your passion? People say to me, how do you find passion? I don't know how to do that. How about, what did you used to do as a child that you don't do anymore but you love? How about, gee, I used to do so-and-so a lot way back in the 90s, but I don't do that anymore. These are questions that you can ask yourself that will stimulate creative thinking in your mind. The passion will keep you happy. The passion will bring you joy. The passion will make you soar as an individual. The fourth tool is the tool which links all the other tools together. It's the linchpin. You cannot have an attitude of gratitude without forgiveness. You cannot be vulnerable without forgiveness. You cannot adapt without forgiveness. And you cannot find passion without forgiveness. Forgiveness is the linchpin for all the others. Look, I meditate, I drink green tea, I light candles, and I still want to smack somebody when they insult me. Because forgiveness is the most challenging aspect of our lives. But forgiveness is so important for our lives that we can't move forward. It's toxic. It will strangle us. And sometimes we use it as an excuse not to move forward. That's unconscious. Find out what is strangling you, what is toxic, so that you can move forward in life. I want to tell you one more story before I close, because it's near and dear to me. My mother was the quintessential role model for wellness. I was a very lucky girl. I was aware at a very young age how she took care of herself physically, mentally, and emotionally, and how she maximized her potential. She never got up without a positive attitude, her best foot forward every day. She religiously fixed 3 nutritious meals every single day. I knew all the food groups before I was 5. She was a working mother. She was highly efficient at what she did. What was her blessing was her philosophy of life. And she practiced these tools. Not in the way that I just explained them to you, but she always was grateful. She let her emotions out when she needed to. She was so proficient at adapting, it was unbelievable. And she was passionate. She designed all her clothes. She created a life and a home that was unique. She taught me that life was fun, was challenging, was passionate. In her 70s, she still continued to build houses. Well, that fixer ended up morphed into a builder. And she was a senior aerobics teacher in her community. In her 80s, she took up tap dancing with a vengeance. Had no rhythm. But boy, she looked good in those costumes she designed. She had fun. And when she was about to go to the other side, her last 2 years, she showed me how to face death with grace, with gratitude, with dignity, and grace. And my mother was my hero. 5 tools will get you the life you want and deserve. 5 tools will lead you to a life of wellness and happiness. 5 tools will inspire you, expand your imagination, will emotionally connect you to yourself and the world, will encourage growth and change, and will have you recognize that if you waste time in your life being anybody other than who you are, you will never find happiness. And in terms of forgiveness, well, forgiveness gives us hope. It gives us the ability to love again. It gives us the ability to go through life gracefully. So today, go through your day gracefully. Have the most awesome day of your life. This is a challenge. Make this day the most amazing day that you have encountered in a long time.